I remember always feeling like I was hiding it, like I was never being honest with my friends. That's what I feel. I feel like I wasn't truthful to people. Now it's different, but just there was so much fear, I guess, and the uncertainty of how are people going to react to this. Even though it is just a few documents that separates me from them, but I felt like my whole entire world would be different. I did feel embarrassed and I did feel ashamed. In my head, I thought, if people find out, they're not going to be my friends anymore. My name is Enrique. I'm 22 years old. I'm an undocumented American chasing after my dreams and living through art. I was born in Mexico and I was brought to the US at the age of 6. I lived in New Hampshire throughout most of my childhood, elementary school, and then my parents moved back to New York. I went to school here, high school, college, and I'm currently living at home with my mom, my older sister Kat, my brother Omar, and my little sister Jacqueline. New Hampshire was just an amazing place to grow up in. Nobody ever made me feel different. From the first day, the teachers, everybody was really, really nice to me. My life after high school has kind of been like a roller coaster. It's just been a whole bunch of up and downs. I went to college for 3 years. I'm supposed to be a senior now, but I ended up dropping 2 semesters. After high school, I've been just working, trying to pay for my tuition. If I had papers, college would have been a lot easier. I would have been able to apply for financial aid or gotten grants or any sort of assistance to pay for it. But since I don't, I've had to do it by myself. There was no option. The first job offer that I got was a big slap in the face for me. I was volunteering for this after-school program. My class had an art activity and they were doing watercolors, and I started painting a macaw, and the art specialist, he came up to me, he was like, wow, this is really great. And then he told the director of the program, and then she called me up to the office and she offered me a job right on the spot. And she said, I want you to work for me. You're gonna get paid $19 an hour, you'll be fine. But I couldn't take it. My family consists of 5 people. My mom, who I love to death, she's the strongest woman I know. My older sister Kat, my younger brother Omar, and my little sister Jacqueline.
Y a veces me da coraje que veo mucha gente que tiene los papeles y no han acabado ni la high school, ni han querido seguir estudiando. Y a veces yo digo, ellos que no tienen, quieren seguir y seguir. Y si no, ves, yo veo a Enrique es necio con una cosa, necio con otra, y va y viene. Y mucha gente no, o sea, la ves, como le digo, como del montón, o sea, tú la ves. Entonces, ¿de qué les sirve sus papeles? Para nada.
When I was 15 years old, I caught my dad cheating on my mom, and my intentions were never to tell her, but one thing led to another, and I did tell her. And that very same night, my father spoke to me and he called me a coward, and he told me that everything and all the problems that would come as a result were all going to be my fault. It didn't mean much to me that night, but 2.5 years later, it weighed a lot on me. My entire family fell apart. My mom was depressed. Nobody was happy. We couldn't do anything because at that point we had never done anything for ourselves. We had never worked before because my father was always the type of person that said that we didn't need to work. But as soon as it all went down, he made it clear that he wasn't going to help me. So what I did is I went to get a job right away. Because we are undocumented, we can't just apply for all these things like food stamps and like help from the government. You gotta do it yourself. I feared getting in any type of trouble. Now, not that much, but before, it's like I would avoid the police at all costs. Like I wouldn't go near the cops. Every time there were cops, like I would get like really stiff, really kind of nervous, because I thought, oh my God, if they ask me for an ID and they see that I have a Mexican passport, that's it, I'm being deported.
Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization. Now, let's be clear, this is not amnesty, this is not immunity. This is not a path to citizenship.
When it comes to deferred action, it's not a path to citizenship like the DREAM Act. It just prevents you from being deported. And again, there's certain things that you have to meet. You have to also have been brought into the country before the age of 16, have gotten to a high school, or have gotten a GED. Getting a deferred action for me would be a life changer. Right now, I'm working at a bar, but that's not where I necessarily want to be working for the next 5-10 years. If I were to get a deferred action, that would just be great because I could start working in the field that I'm going to school for, which is architecture. I was coming back home from a club and I was waiting for my train when these two guys started shouting out names and screaming things out to me, and I didn't pay much attention to it. I just wanted to go home, but one of them kept approaching me to the point where he came and shoved me. And at that point, I wasn't gonna let myself get shoved, so I shoved back, and then the other one jumped in, so I didn't even have a chance to see the other one. I was kicked, punched, I have a scar here, and I was taken to the ER, and I was arrested to the bed. I ended up getting stitches in my eye, and I came out of the emergency room in handcuffs. So I ended up getting charged for reckless endangerment in the second degree, and I didn't really know what that was until I Googled it and I saw that it was like a misdemeanor and it could be punishable for up to 1 year in jail. And since I'm trying to do the deferred action and stuff like that, you can't have a criminal record, you can't have anything that would compromise it. So in order for me to apply for it, now I have to wait to see what the court says, and then basically when I went in, they read the charges against me and they realized that the only reason why those guys put the charges against me was because I pressed charges on them. I have another court date on November 2nd where the attorney that took over my case is going to try to dismiss it. So let's see what happens. My lack of papers affects everything. It's like I'm kind of just tied up. I'm just waiting for someone to come and like cut the rope and just set me free. And it's just kind of like, damn, like you did all this work, all this, all these years of effort and like learning the language and like, you know, fitting into, you know, the American lifestyle, for them to just be like, no, it doesn't count, it never counted. I don't feel like we're competing or we're trying to take away jobs from people. I feel like we're all in this race together. It's frustrating. I try to make the best out of the situation, but there are days where it's just tough. It's tough coming home after work and just feeling like you're running in place. Sometimes I feel like that, like I'm just running in place, and I feel like I'm just running, and I'm not really going anywhere. And my fear is being 40 and hating my life and not having accomplished anything because of it. If there is no change, I'm gonna have to keep doing these odd jobs for the rest of my life, and it's not really the future that I look forward to, in all honesty. When I was in Mexico, I remember going to school. I don't remember exactly every single detail, but I remember being a little kid, like in kindergarten, and my mom taking me to school.
Para mí es bonito Cholula. Me acuerdo de las ferias del día 8 de septiembre, que, o sea, ponían juegos. Si iba uno a la escuela, hacía uno desfile, nos tocaba desfilar. De ahí afuera, pues, a veces cuando había fiestas los pueblitos ponían igual juegos, baile, vendían cositas, así, que pan. En lo que es en Cholula son 365 iglesias. La que celebraban más era la de la Virgen de los Remedios, que estaba en un cerro. Nosotros vivíamos, bueno, en su casa de él, donde vivíamos, estaba mero enfrente a una iglesia. La iglesia se llamaba la iglesia de Socuila.
My family left Mexico because my father was in debt, and there was just no way that he was going to be able to pay that back, and everything was going down the drain. So my parents had to take a decision and leave Mexico in order to pay for those debts.
The first people who migrated while the local industry was actually pretty strong. But they were looking for something different. They started to see in these towns around the region that people were building nicer houses, people were affording vehicles. All of this migration was after the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. So all of again, more than 92% of the people from this town migrate without documents. So in the 80s and 90s, that actually wasn't too tough to cross the border. The stories we've heard most recently are much more violent, just very, very expensive, very difficult to cross through the Arizona desert.
O sea, cuando él estuvo aquí, yo contraté a un licenciado para desde empezar a hacer trámites de pasaportes, todo eso. Pero lo que resulta es que cuando él luego después se regresó para ver si podíamos sacar las visas, el licenciado nos estafó con $4,000. O sea, ya nos cobró en dólares. Yo me acuerdo que cruzamos una calle y entonces los mismos hombres agarran esos como hierbas secas y hacen así para borrar tus huellas. O sea, te pasaron primero a ti y luego ya todos borran todas las pisadas. Se veían los helicópteros cómo andaban, pero ya te dicen, escóndete, escóndete, o sea. Entonces hay cosas que si tú te pones a reaccionar ahorita, o sea, estuvo feo porque de cualquier modo, si nos hubiera pasado algo, o si no, yo veía yo muy chamaco el que nos pasó, tenía como, digo, como 15, 18 años.
The most vivid memories that I have from the actual crossing was meeting the coyote and the entire group of people, and that one woman that looked at me and my sister and thought that we weren't going to make it because we were there, and we were obviously little kids, and she thought that we weren't going to be strong enough to cross the border and that we were going to get caught because of us, when it turned out I became friends with the coyote, and the guy that crosses helps us get across, and I was by his side the whole night ahead of the pack. And I remember we walked the entire night, and then during the day we had to hide under like bushes and trees so nobody could see us.
O sea, subimos 3 mujeres, el problema para mí fue que a mí me subieron hasta atrás, luego siguieron las 2 mujeres acostadas y luego siguió Enrique acostado y Katy encima de Enrique. Entonces yo no podía ayudarlos porque Enrique ya lloraba porque pesaba la niña. Y ya, o sea, todo el mundo decía que se callara, o sea, porque ya íbamos a pasar el retén.
Living through art means exactly that, living through art. During high school, I was going through very rough times, and art was the one outlet that I had. I would just kind of lose myself in the painting process and just focus on art, and I think a lot of my paintings reflect that, and you could almost like feel the emotion coming off of them that I felt at that moment. Dreamers Count is an activist group that I started. Not every undocumented person is brave enough to come out of the shadows and come out with their faces and tell their story to people, because there's a lot of fear. And I myself had a lot of fear when I decided to come out of the shadows. So what I did was I painted this mask. What we do is people that want to share their stories, they share it behind the mask. I paint a different mural, a different mask on everybody, and that kind of empowers them to come out of the shadows and tell their stories to the world. I've never really posted my face on my Facebook page or on YouTube. I've never done a video without the mask. So I decided that I not only needed to come out of the shadows with the mask, but eventually I knew that I would have to do it without the mask. The concept of the video is coming out of the shadows, stepping out of the shadows and losing that fear. In the video, it's kind of like when you're living in the shadows, it's like you feel like you're dead almost in a way. As the video progresses, I show different masks, but I start to deconstruct them, to eventually I lose the mask altogether. I've been to a lot of events where a lot of undocumented events, and I feel that a lot of them are the same. They have speakers and they go on the mic and they tell really depressing stories that make you cry, and they cry, and I don't want people's pity. That's the one thing I do not want, and that's not where Dreamers Count is heading. I want the youth, the American youth, I want everybody to just kind of like take a look at my life and just to kind of realize that I'm no different. I go to school, I work, I'm just trying to make a better living for myself and for my family. That's all I want. And I think that if people see that and understand that, then they'll be more willing to help because it's more relatable that way. I want people to see the world through my eyes and see that we're all the same. I'm feeling a little nervous, but excited in a good way, I guess, because it's been 6 months since the actual incident, and it's kind of still following me around. I can't seem to like put an end to it till now. So we were in the courthouse for like 4 or 5 hours, and my case finally came up, and the judge ruled that it's dismissed, which is very good news for me. That means that I could finally apply for the deferred action. I can go ahead and just move on with my life.
Yo pues siempre lo he dicho, a mí no me importa si no me dan papeles, si a mí me sacan, o sea, pero que siquiera les den a ustedes esa oportunidad de luchar más en este país. Me siento mal, pero a la vez le digo a ellos, tú no sabes por qué Dios hace las cosas. Yo lo único que le pido a Dios es que en verdad, dices tú, ellos sí no tienen la culpa que los trajimos, porque en verdad a mí me pidieron la opción, yo no vengo, o yo vengo y ya, pero ellos no.
I don't resent my parents' decision to come to this country and to bring us along. I actually think it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, maybe. I can't imagine my life anywhere outside the US, and I can't imagine myself doing the same things that I'm doing here. I think that there's obviously so many more opportunities here than they would be back in Mexico. Today's the big day. Today's the day that I've been working towards. March 28th, the National Coming Out of the Shadows Day. This year I'm selling my artwork while trying to educate people that come and approach me about the DREAM Act, what it is, what are the benefits, who it could benefit. I finally got to the point where it's like I know I could call myself an artist. Like I feel like before I was always afraid to say, oh, I'm an artist, because it's like, what does that mean? So it's like the first time that I'm gonna prove to myself and like sell my artwork and really come out not only as undocumented but as an undocumented artist. And I'm not ashamed of it. Like I'm an artist and this is what I like to do. This is my passion. But I also have other dreams and other goals, which is, to go back to school and finish what I started. if I let more time go by, then you never know. Like, I may not end up one. So it's very important for me to like go back and selling these artworks and these my series. I'm gonna put all the money that I get from selling them into like my going back to school budget. Oh my god, this is not cool. I don't know if I'm gonna do this. Alright y'all, bye bye. Have fun. I'll try. I'm an individual. It doesn't matter if you're out there with the megaphone and screaming. If nobody's listening. As long as I get I've had a few people come and ask me questions, and I was able to explain to them. As long as I change their mindset, that's more than being out on the loudspeaker and yelling on top of your lungs about whatever issue you're having.
You're a U.S. citizen.
Why? Because I was brought here illegally as a child, so
You're U.S. I don't know what to say in your situation. I want to get more education on it.
I sold my first one. I'm so excited. I'm so hyped. I'm happy with the results. The weather sucked, which killed kind of the mood and the energy, but nevertheless I'm not discouraged. As a matter of fact, it gave me more encouragement to kind of keep going and to take this even further. This was just the first day. The American flag is obviously a symbol for freedom, liberty, equality, and those are all those things that I grew up learning and that I've embraced and that I love about this country. When I decided to draw the flag in my face, I left out the stars on purpose because I am undocumented, and even though it's an American flag and you recognize it as an American flag, it's missing something, and that's how I feel about me. I'm not, even though I feel American and I consider myself American, I'm not an American.